Hey, Pro-Life Gen, it's Kristan Hawkins. Welcome to this new episode of the Explicitly Pro-Life podcast and the How to Win This Week episode. So this week I want to talk about how you can rebut the myth that women need abortion in order to save lives, because this, my friends, is going to be the talking point du jour of the abortion industry in the next several weeks and months as we await the result and the final decision from the Supreme Court on the Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization case. In fact, just the other week, the New York Times took a picture at Students for Life in front of the Supreme Court when the Supreme Court was hearing the emergency appeal of President Biden's DOJ to stop the heartbeat law from being in effect in Texas. And we had signs out in front of the court saying, "Let their hearts beat." And there was an op-ed in the Times saying her heart was beating too. And they used our picture, and the point was to say that women need abortion. And the author actually told the story of a 2012 case in Ireland, and outside of Galway, a woman, Savita Halappanava. I probably butchered the last name, I'm sorry. But Savita was a pregnant woman who had sepsis, and she died. It's a tragic, tragic story. And you probably have heard of Savita because when Ireland was making the case to legalize abortion, which just happened a couple years ago, they used Savita's story all over as a justification to legalize abortion for whatever reason in any circumstance. But what's interesting about this case is that, and I don't actually understand why abortion advocates keep talking about it, because if you actually look at the facts of the case, they don't line up. And the reality is that no matter what story someone talks to you about why they think abortion should be legal because of a case they heard or a story they heard, maybe they heard Savita's story. I've heard it on campuses, people trying to recount Savita's story without even knowing her name or what country she was in, how far along in pregnancy she was. You have to be ready to respond to this. And it's actually very simple. Abortion is the intentional destruction of human life. That is what abortion is, and that is never necessary to save the life of a mother, of a woman. In fact, if a woman has to deliver, if she can no longer remain pregnant, because remaining pregnant actually puts her life at stake, what happens and what good doctors will do is they will deliver the child. So you may be talking about an early delivery, but you never talk about an abortion, because to be honest, if a woman can no longer be pregnant, if being pregnant is making her life, putting her life at risk, there is no reason why you would insert digoxin into her womb, cause a cardiac arrest, then wait 2 to 3 days to deliver a dead child. If she can't be pregnant anymore, she can't be pregnant anymore, and you have to take her in for a C-section and do an early delivery. There is no abortion law, anti-abortion law out there that's ever been proposed that says when a woman is at risk for death that she shouldn't be able to have an early delivery of her child. The goal at that point should be that the doctor should see that they have 2 patients that they're caring for. They need to try to save the lives of both. So they would induce, perform a C-section, deliver the child and the actual pregnancy that the mother's experiencing, and then offer every possible resource they can to that child who has been born premature, even knowing that the risk that child will perish may be high depending on where she is at in her pregnancy. I've spoken with a lot of pro-life OB-GYNs. In fact, I think my first season of this podcast, I interviewed my good friend, Dr. John Brashowski. He's the founder of the Tepeyac Family Center in Fairfax, Virginia. He was my OB-GYN for 2 of my pregnancies. Dr. Brashowski talks about what happens in these high-risk cases of trying to get a woman, as far along as she can in pregnancy to gestate her child, to ensure her child's lungs can grow, as he or she's organs can be functioning properly. And then, if she can no longer remain pregnant, to deliver the child. And he talks about how, as a physician, he has to always remember that he has two patients that he's trying to ensure survive. So that's really what comes down to when you hear this argument. The Life Institute actually did a really in-depth analysis of Savita's death, going back to Savita and this story that the New York Times dredged up from 2012. And it's so sad that the abortion industry continues to use her tragic death, because really she didn't die because she was pregnant. She died of negligence. The staff at the hospital were too busy to actually look at the warning signs, the fact that she had sepsis, that she had elevated white blood cell count. There were other warning signs happening that they never could figure out. Things weren't passed along to the doctors when they would have shift changes. It is a tragic, tragic story, but it is not because she was pregnant. That's the reason she died. She was pregnant. That is absolutely true. And doctors didn't think when they were treating her that she needed to end her pregnancy in order to live. They didn't actually even think she was at grave risk for dying, because they didn't know she had this very rare, very severe form of sepsis caused by E. coli. And so you can go to lifeinstitute.net. They have a great article. They use the coroner's report, what they call the Health Information and Quality Authority in Ireland, their report on Savita's death, also the Health Service Executive, the HSE report there in Ireland. All three reports painstakingly detailed the last few days of Savita's life and the care that she was receiving, what the doctors and nurses knew, what they passed along, what they failed to pass along, what their initial thoughts were, and how her sepsis actually worsened over time while she was in the hospital. So she did not die because she was pregnant. An abortion would not have saved her life. It was the fact that what would have saved her life was if the medical professionals treating her would have paid attention to her symptoms and treated her for sepsis, for this blood infection. And they had expedited the blood test that they had done. That actually would have saved her life. Her having E. coli, a blood infection, had nothing to do with her being pregnant. It's a tragic, tragic story, and it's absolutely sickening how time and time again the abortion industry tries to use this woman and her death, her tragic death and the death of her child, as a justification for abortion in all 9 months and for whatever reason, and with taxpayer funds. But that's exactly what they're going to be doing in the coming weeks, in the coming months, as we await the Supreme Court's decision on Dobbs. So I wanted you to have this information, and I want you to be able to articulate when you're having conversations with friends, family, peers, co-workers, that abortion is never medically necessary to save the life of a woman. What may be necessary is an early delivery, which might dramatically increase the chances that the child will die, but it's about physician intent. The physician's not going in to purposely destroy. And in fact, if she has to deliver, if she can no longer be pregnant, it's actually more harmful to keep her pregnant just so you can kill a child and then wait to deliver that dead child days later. So that's how you win this week. Keep talking about this case, this Dobbs v. Jackson case, and don't be afraid to rebut the comments that you're going to be hearing that's going to be talked about in the media, because we need your help.